Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, your weekly podcast of movies, music, games, and other things entertainment related. Now, your host, TJ Washburn. Welcome to Average Joe's podcast. I'm your host, TJ Washburn, and with me this week is the lovely and very talented Jenni Plum. For those of you, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the show. It's going to be a weekly to bi-weekly podcast talking about entertainment, focusing mainly on movies, books, art, photography, all things entertainment related. Anyway, so here's my guest host for this evening, Jenni Plum. Jenni, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, TJ. I'm really excited to be here. So I am an activist, actress, model, photographer, and writer from the state of Maine. And I have a lot of different projects going on that I'm really excited to talk about.
One of those projects that I want to discuss with you is the Cannababes, which is a very cool project. It's a little bit of activism, a little bit of photography, a little bit of this and that and everything else. It's a very cool project, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Maine Cannababes is a group that I started. I am a medical marijuana caregiver and patient, and I started the group to bring awareness to certain causes within the medical cannabis community. Because I'm both a model and photographer and activist, I assembled a troupe of girls that had similar skills, and we put together a pinup calendar to raise awareness for a particular patient that was in a certain situation. My patient, Gary Godfrey, who has a degenerative kidney disease and was being denied a kidney transplant due to his participation in the medical marijuana program.
So, what are the Cannababes doing for to help raise awareness of this exactly? Like, are you guys doing like video type things, or is it more like showing up to rallies, or do you have products coming out?
It's a little bit of everything, actually. I'm glad that you asked. We helped promote a legislative measure called LD 764. Which was an act to end discrimination against medical marijuana transplant patients. So they could get a transplant if they were a medical marijuana patient. And we actually fought the House and the Senate. We had a lot of really scary moments with it, but we finally got the law to pass. So now my patient is going to be returned to the transplant list. And we are now doing a pinup themed calendar just to kind of bring awareness to his condition, to the bill we had passed, and also raise some much needed funds for his family. But we also did a TV appearance as well.
Before we talk about the TV appearance, do you guys have a website?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can find us online at www.mainecannababes.com. That's mainecannababes.com, and you can pre-order our pinup calendar there. The pre-sales begin now, but it will ship out in November. It's a 2018 calendar with 12 very talented girls, including myself. I'm Miss May. We also have a variety of merchandise on the site as well, t-shirts, stickers, tote bags, that sort of stuff.
Very cool. It's very cool to see somebody from the area taking interest in that. And also, you guys were on Weed Etiquette. Was it just you, or was there a bunch of people?
It was the whole Cannababes troupe is going to be on an episode of Weed Etiquette, which is on Viceland Network or Vice Network.
What they call it, Weed Etiquette?
Weed Etiquette.
Weed Etiquette, okay.
Weed Etiquette. Yep, and they came to do a story on my patient, Gary Godfrey, and they were involved with a really fun shoot that we did with about 8 of the girls. So we had them all in lingerie, and we had lots of weed everywhere, and it was a really fun time. The episode is going to air in September on Vice, and that will feature the Cannababes and kind of show what we're about and what we're working on.
Yeah, I mean, and who doesn't like beautiful girls in lingerie for a good cause? I mean,
exactly. Showing a little skin for a good cause, as the lovely Miss June put it when she did her interview. And we actually have another legislative action coming up. We're going to be promoting LD 411, which is an act to add opiate addiction to the medical marijuana list, which we think is really important as well.
Very, very, very much so. I agree with you there. You recently, like last weekend, started shooting or were in a movie.
Yes, the Cannababes are going to be involved in that too. It is the Woodland Killings 777. It's an independent horror film that's being directed by Peter McDermott. And the girls and I are all going to be involved in that. I had my first shoot just last week, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, I've messed around. I've been in a few small films, different parts and stuff. Really never released. It was really dumb fun stuff.
Right.
But they're always a blast. It's very different to be in front of a camera and have to play somebody else, and you're kind of trying to get the emotions going out. And
yeah, this for me, it's like for us and the girls, it's like bringing out the dark and twisted side of ourselves that may already be present but is hidden away. So it's kind of fun because we really get to kind of be fierce on camera. We do a lot of combat training, and so there's a lot of physical scenes and a lot of it's a really cool movie. I think a lot of people are gonna like it.
I know one thing, like, I always wonder this about actors because you get so deeply involved in a role. Like, I can understand, especially on a long shoot, somebody like, they see like Johnny Depp when he's in a film, he like lives, eats, sleeps his role. You would think that would take a toll on you mentally after a while. Like, right. You hear about different actors and people getting,
I mean, Heath Ledger, that's what killed him, was method acting.
I mean,
right. And there are some method actors on the set, and I deeply appreciate that art. I don't think that I could do that all the time because I think I might go a little nuts.
Oh yeah,
I know myself well enough to know when to be in character, when to be out of character. But I think you're really gonna like the premise for this movie too.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out, and I will post like links to it and where people can check it out when that time comes, and I'm sure it will be on the Cannababes website.
Absolutely.
I'm going to plug myself right now real quick. For those of you who don't know, I am an author, former musician, all-around jolly happy guy. And if anybody wants to check out my writing stuff and hasn't done so, you can go to thomaswashburnjr.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, Amazon, all those good places. So you guys can check some stuff out there about my products. Yeah, there we go, talking. And it's been a while since I've done a radio show of any type or podcast, so this is kind of fun. This is our test run, so please excuse any glitches in the Matrix. Take the red pill, not the blue, or vice versa, whatever.
What if I want to put them together and take a purple pill? What happens then?
You go plaid? I don't know. It would be...
I wanted to talk a little bit about the plot of the movie, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the Woodland Killing 777, the plot of this movie, it's definitely not going to be for the faint of heart at all. It's really gory, it's really graphic, so if you don't like those sorts of things, it's probably not going to be for you. It's all about role reversal, so... In horror movies, usually it's the men that are the abductors and the murderers and the ones that torture and whatever do bad things to people. It's always men. In this movie, it's the women. The women are the ones that are the murderers and the abductors and the torturers. And so it's all about role reversals, and there's a lot of really talented and unique people from our state that are involved with this. So I just feel really lucky to have been asked to become a part of it.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to bring up is lately, especially in the state of Maine, I've noticed there always has been that I've noticed, especially like in the music scene. The music scene used to be, I'm not so sure now because I'm not so much involved with it as I used to, but was always very tight-knit in the state of Maine. Everybody kind of helped everybody out. We're a big state, but we're small in numbers, so, It was always one of those things, and I recently had a short story of mine is being turned into a film by Cemetery Theater.
That's so cool.
And it's called Chum. They're shooting it in August on Little Cranberry Island down on the coast.
Nice.
And
good spot.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But I've noticed there's kind of that same vibe within the film community too, like actors and actresses and producers and prop people. Mm-hmm. There's kind of that big family vibe, like everybody's like, hey, we're from Maine, but we want to make something cool happen. So let's work together and not worry about the bullshit and the ego that sometimes goes with anything creative. Because, excuse me, anybody that's creative knows sometimes it's very hard to put your ego aside and be like, yeah, I'll take your help, or
Yeah, yeah.
no, look, you can do it that way if you know it's
Or yeah, I'll do this even though maybe I'm not totally into it or whatever, you know. Like,
yeah, people seem to help you, but it's like a very reciprocal type thing where it's like you help somebody else out, and then when it's time for them to do something, you help them out, and it's I've seen a lot of really cool films come out of Maine in the last few years. Cemetery Theater has a great short called Sleep Eater, and another one they just put out called Blind Date, which was kind of what got me interested in working with them in the first place. Bonfire Films, my friend Corey Norman, has put out some phenomenal films. One called The Hanover House as Ann Bobby that was born on the 4th of July and Nightbreed. I'm not really super into ghost stories, but that movie is scary as shit. It's very creepy and well done. They have a new werewolf movie out called White Drift. I mean, they've got a ton of stuff. But it just goes to show that I don't think it matters where you're from. If you have the right people and the drive to do stuff, you can make anything happen. You don't need to be in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, I had a friend of mine, somebody that I met in the music scene who's a folk singer, and she once told me something that always stuck with me, and that was, if you can dream it, you can manifest it.
That's a cool saying.
Yeah.
You know.
So I've always carried that with me everywhere I've gone. Like, if you have a dream, then you can make that dream a reality. You just have to take the steps to get there, and it's going to take hard work. But if you believe in it, then you can get there.
Yeah, especially coming from like a place like Maine, where it's small towns. You know, you don't have big Hollywood producers traipsing through. You know, very often anyway, or stuff like that. But you get. That's one thing. That's one beautiful thing I love about the internet. As much as I often hate the internet for various reasons, the internet has also made it possible for people from small places, small towns, places that may not have a chance to do things like this. It gives them a chance to have a voice. You got like Vimeo, YouTube,
right?
It gives people can showcase their talents and. That's one of the cool things, and you got social networking. So, as much as that is a pain in its ass and a huge,
cluster F, yeah.
It's valuable in a lot of ways, in the fact it gives you a chance to connect with other people that are into the same stuff you are.
Right. You just have to wade through all the bullshit.
There's a lot of unfollowing happens, and unfortunately, I love a lot of I love my friends and people, but sometimes it's like, really, come on, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt isn't going to be sending you a box of cookies if you share this chain letter post. I mean, come on, you should.
I know, we've gone back to, we're like de-evolving in that sense. Like, you remember when chainmail used to be a thing back in AOL days? Like, it went away for a long time, and now it's back with a vengeance.
It's made a resurgence, and I don't understand. It's like, please, for the love of God, just read it for like 5 seconds, and you'll get it.
I just tell people I don't know how to copy and paste things because it sounds about as dumb as the messages they send me.
I'm like, my whole thing is like, read it out loud to yourself, and if it sounds stupid, it probably is, and don't share it. More than likely, it's not true, because
you haven't heard from somebody since high school, and you get the, God will bless you today if you share this and say amen. Nice to hear from you, too, after 18 years.
Yes, or, Bobby Singh in Botswana wants to give me $1 million. Or, I could use the $1 million, but I don't think Bobby Singh is going to be sending it to me.
If you're a beautiful woman, send this to all your beautiful friends. Girls get those ones all the time. You probably
so do I. I get them all the time, too. Because I am definitely not a beautiful woman.
Bitch. I don't need to send a goddamn chain letter about it.
Everybody knows, whatever. But for all the faults that social media has, it makes it does.
It's a good platform.
It's a good platform. Yeah. It's just finding the right balance. I mean, I have some awesome creative friends that also, and I'm probably guilty of it too, spamming the shit out of my pages sometimes with creative stuff. Right. And I try to keep my author page and my even this podcast.
I have too many pages. I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about how many Facebook pages I have right now. It's stressful.
Personally, I've been very into Instagram lately and not so much Facebook.
Yeah, I started an Instagram for the Maine Cannababes, and we're going to launch that soon. Like, I started it. It's Maine Cannababes, all one word, and we're going to be putting up some cool stuff, I think, in the next week or so.
Author Thomas Washburn Jr.
Yeah, I have one for personal, too. It's Plum Jenni.
Plum Jenny.
Plum Jenny. Yep.
Like the fruit.
Yep. Plum like the fruit.
Plum like the fruit.
That's my Jenny. Yeah, I got all that in the Tommy Two-Tone shit. I fucking hate Tommy Two-Tone. Jenny, I got your number. Yeah, if I had $1, man.
Or 8675309.
That's the song.
Is it?
Yeah, it goes, I wanna make you mine.
You know how long it's been since I've heard that song?
Your number 8675309.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Jenny and I also used to be in a band together for a while, too. We were in like a horror punk rockabilly band called Killing Voorhees, and we recorded some songs, and one of these days, I'm going to play one of those songs for you guys. Oh, please.
I need copies of them because I want to put them all over the internet. They were really, really cool. I had a lot of fun when we did that.
Yeah, it was a good time. From a musician standpoint, I miss playing, and I also don't miss playing.
Right.
It's such a huge time commitment.
It is, and it's like so much energy that you have to put into it. It feels good, but it is a really, really big investment.
Especially getting older. I'm going to be 39 in like 2 weeks, so I'm getting to the point where the going and traveling thing isn't so much fun anymore, and I've played so many shows over the years and done so much of that stuff that, while it's still fun, I just don't get the same kick out of it that I used to. And it's like, man, I gotta get up for work at 4 a.m. and
yep.
Adulting sucks. Why? Adulting.
Suck. If you need me, I'll be in my blanket fort coloring with juice boxes.
So, Jenny also just recently put out a poetry book, and I'm gonna let her give you the title because I will completely butcher it and tongue-tie twist it. So it's very cool if you're into poetry and prose. It's very cool, and it's kind of on the dark side, but it's also uplifting, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But she'll tell you a little more about it anyway.
Yeah, it's called Melodies in Minor Keys, like melodies, like MALADIES, not melodies, but melodies in minor keys. And it is a book about grief and loss and suffering and illness and kind of dealing with those things and processing those feelings. And it's kind of an anthology that I wrote over the past few years or so after losing a lot of people in my life to drug overdose, and also losing my mother-in-law to cancer, my mother to a heart attack, and just going through a lot of really major upheavals in my life. And writing has always been a really good source of inspiration for me, and it's a good outlet for me. So when I finished writing that kind of anthology of poems, I decided to put them together and self-publish them. So it's on Amazon. It is a ebook only at this point, but I do hope to put it up available as a print publication soon in the next few months, with some original artwork included in it as well. So it is dark. Some of it's rhyming, some of it's not rhyming, but it all kind of comes from a place of healing and trying to move beyond things that are holding you back.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, I'm not huge into poetry, but I had a chance to read this beforehand, before you published it, actually.
You actually helped me edit it.
Yeah, so I went through and checked, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was very thoughtful, for one. It was thought-provoking is the other thing. But it was just like, it definitely made you feel, whether it might not all be happy feelings, but it definitely made you feel. But I could definitely see where people that were going through tough times would be able to relate, especially with people that have lost someone close or whatever, because a lot of it was very, very deep in that. And I get that, because, like, I know writing song lyrics and stuff, I used to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it might not always be the most direct, subtle way of putting it through, but it was in there if you know.
Right.
And people, this is one thing, this is something else that I've never got, you know. A lot of people are like, oh, that's bad and evil and it's depressing, and some of the songs that have gotten me through like the worst things ever are not the happiest songs. But they resonate, you know. Right. They makes you feel like, no, I'm not the only one that is going through this sort of thing. And it's I think poetry is the exact same thing. Poetry is lyrics without music, as I always say.
I feel like a lot of them could probably be turned into songs eventually, too.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of songs that I always said, that's pretty much a poem.
Right, with a repeating chorus.
Yeah, with a repeating chorus. It's interesting. It's
I'd like to see a resurgence in modern poetry, though, and modern poets, because there's not a lot right now. There's really not. There hasn't been for a long time.
You see a lot of, like, I mean, like, I'm not versed in it as well as you, but, like, the only thing that I ever really see, like, a major influx of is stuff like Henry Rollins doing, like, the spoken word stuff, which, by the way, if you've never seen any of Henry Rollins' spoken word, it's brilliant, funny, and it's just captivating as all hell. And I mean, I couldn't name any of the specials off the top of my head, but you need to go find some of them if you can. Henry is also a brilliant writer. If you ever get a chance to read any of his books, he's a very smart man, and he has a lot to say in a big mouth, and he pisses people off. But whatever, take it for what it is, and don't get your panties, knickers in a twist.
You know who else is a really good, surprising poet, musician? Serge from System of a Down.
Yeah, I know he released. Did he release a book of poetry?
He has a few books of poetry now. I think 2 or 3, but the first one, Cool Gardens, that's what made me want to start writing poetry again when he released that.
See, one of the people I've always thought would be a cool poet, and he might be, and I've never looked into it, is Maynard from Tool.
Yeah, he actually, I don't know if he's written any poetry or anything like that.
I know he makes a lot of cool, very tasty wine, from what I've heard.
They just came out with a biography that he helped write, and I just picked it up, but I lent it to a friend because I'm like that really nice guy that gets a brand new book and doesn't read it yet and lends it to a friend before she reads it. So
it gets broken in, so you don't have to break it in yourself.
Well, it's actually my friend that lives in Alabama has it because I got to see him when I was down in Virginia, and he is bringing it back to me when he visits this week. Cool. So I'll be able to read it. But yeah, I was so excited when I saw that on the shelf at Bull Moose. I saw Maynard in this like suit, and it was like, oh my god, I didn't realize they made a biography of him. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but
there's so I love biographies, and
but
I haven't read any recently. I have George Carlin's Last Words, which I've had for since last summer, and I still haven't read it yet. It's just it's like I really want to read that, but I'm also holding off on reading it because George Carlin was amazing.
George Carlin was amazing.
And this is like, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure this is like the book they wrote shortly before he died, or like actually were finishing it when he passed away, if I remember correctly. So I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about reading this right now.
Want to hear a funny George Carlin story? I've got a good George Carlin story for you. Okay, so back in the 70s, my dad went to see George Carlin live. And he was one of those stoner guys that was like hiding out in the balcony, smoking weed, puffing down a joint, whatever. George starts telling a joke about stoners. And he says, like those guys up in the balcony. And the spotlight shines on my dad and his friends sitting there like with joints hanging out of their mouths, doe-eyed in the light. Yeah, so my father has been singled out at a George Carlin show for smoking pot.
Not everybody can say that.
No.
Probably very few people can.
Right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people back in the 60s and 70s especially. But yeah, George Carlin was brilliant. He was the start to me of... not the start, but he was one of the originators of the social commentary comedy that I love so much. Like Joe Rogan's one that I absolutely love.
Yep.
Has a lot to say. It's funny as hell, but at the same time you could think and getting on off topic and on kind of sort of is Joe Rogan was one of the first podcasts that I really got into. So that was, I've been listening to that for a couple of years now, and that was one of the things that kind of made me want to get into podcasting. And a couple of my other friends have podcasts. The Movie Freaks with my friend Eric Marner, which is awesome. And actually, Eric read did my first audiobook.
Nice.
Called Family Secret, which you can get up on my Amazon page. And he's also going to be doing The Returners and a bunch of my other books in audiobook format too.
Very cool.
But him and my friends Dan and Tom have a podcast called the Potato League Podcast, which is all about movies and video games and books and music and nerd stuff. And I
love nerd stuff.
I do too. I'm a giant nerd, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, me too.
And I actually did the intro for their show. So, but you can, if you have like Podbean or any of those sites, you can find both Movie Freaks and the Potato League Podcast on there.
Nice.
And Joe Rogan Experience, which if you haven't checked out, it's the beautiful thing about Joe is Joe has people from all the different entertainment people he knows, guys that hunt, guys, comedians, actors, activists. He had Neil deGrasse Tyson on there,
I love
which
Neil.
was which is one of my favorite. He's had Maynard on there. I mean, he had Judd Apatow a couple weeks ago, that was funny. A lot of comics, obviously, because Joe's a comic, but he's also UFC guy. He's been in movies, so it's always interesting to hear, because I love the fact that Joe brings on people that aren't necessarily maybe in alignment with his views, but he can have a civil discussion with them and talk about stuff.
Well, you've talked me into listening to it. Jeez.
Yeah, just prepare
I
to
love civil discourse. You know me. I run that political group too, where we have nothing but civil debates. So
just be prepared to have like 4 hours of time to listen to that show, because it's one of those it takes me like 2 or 3 commutes to work to listen to.
Yeah. I'll put it on when I'm doing chores or.
Yeah. That's podcasts are my new favorite thing. I honestly don't listen to a lot of radio in my car anymore.
I don't blame you.
It's
radio sucks anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I have like my Spotify and my MP3 stuff, and if I want to listen to something, but most of the time I have a podcast.
I mean, let's be realistic. There are only like 2 decent radio stations in the whole state of Maine, and you know which ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, we won't mention them on air.
But you know which ones I'm talking about.
Right. If you're from Maine, you know. There's not. And especially rock stations. Very few rock stations are made anymore. Lots of country.
Lots of country, lots of pop, lots of that auto-tune crap.
Yeah, I probably need to be auto-tuned when I sing, but I don't. You have to deal with it. So.
You never need to be auto-tuned. I would love to hear you growl in auto-tune, though, just to see how messed up it sounds.
I bet it sounds kind of cool.
It might.
I don't know. I've never been fancy enough in recording to have auto-tune on anything.
Right.
So.
That's just for rich people who have producers that make decisions for them.
I use free software. Shout out to Audacity, because my other computer, I got a new laptop today, and we started recording the show on my old laptop, and it clipped every 4 seconds. So it was pretty much not able to use it. So I don't have this new laptop set up at all. It's not new. It's new to me, and it's running an older version of Windows. So I'm like, I can't put my audio software in here because everything's being confusing and a pain in the butt. So I remembered Audacity. So this is what we're doing the show on, is Audacity is a freeware recording program. So if you would like to record a podcast, you have no excuse. USB mic on Amazon for like $10, and a free copy of Audacity, and a mouth and a desire to talk and make a complete ass of yourself. That's the only recipe you need. You can talk about anything. You can talk about your dust bunny collection. You can talk about how you like to watch mold grow in the corner. I don't care. But whatever interests you, make a podcast about it. It's fun, gives you a chance to talk to some of your friends that have the same interest. And this is coming from the guy who's on his first episode, and I'm talking like I've done 1,000 of them. But the point being, it's fun, and I'm having a good time so far.
Right.
And it's just getting used to doing the whole thing and all that. But so yeah, we had recently. I saw Wonder Woman. You also saw Wonder Woman.
Yes, I did. I just saw it in the theater at $1 movie night.
Yeah. I don't go to the theater very often anymore because there's usually somebody on the phone.
Right.
Or talking to the screen.
Or somebody bringing an inappropriate, infant child that screams through the whole entire movie.
I went to Wonder Woman. There was I'm pretty sure it was a dad with 3 little kids, probably under the age of 7 in there. And those little kids were awesome. They never made a peep the whole time. It was the old guy in the back that couldn't stop clearing his throat every 4 seconds and mumbling under his breath every other scene. Which that wasn't so bad, but I saw Guardians of the Galaxy a couple months ago.
Yep.
A month and a half ago. And there was a girl in there literally the whole time that every time a scene come on, she had to point out to the screen and talk to it and tell everybody what was going on. And it was really annoying. And I almost went out and asked if I could get a refund or have her removed. But I didn't. And I got through it, and I survived, and it's okay. And yeah, it's petty, but what the hell? I paid money to go in and see it, and It was annoying. But back to Wonder Woman. So what did you think?
I thought it was a really great movie. I think Gal Gadot is just a really powerful female lead. She does a very impressive job. I think the plot was a really good plot. I mean, I felt like it was a very long movie.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I had against it, but you had to, in order to set her up for the continuity of the future.
Yeah.
Things that they're going to do, you had to have her entire backstory. But I thought it was really well done, and I definitely really enjoyed it. I actually want to cosplay her now in the future because I liked it so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I wasn't so sure after Batman versus Superman because that was a train wreck.
That was
I kind of enjoyed Batman versus Superman, but at the same time, I was like,
I left scratching my head, kind of sad, kind of confused,
Batman versus Superman to me missed out on
so much.
It missed the mark.
It did. I didn't like the casting of Lex Luthor at all. I didn't like.
No, I'm not a big Jesse Eisenberg fan.
He just wasn't the right guy. And then it's just so much drama and sadness, and it's like they're trying to do something different than what the whole Marvel universe is doing, and I get that. But it's too friggin' tragic. They need to reel it back a little.
And also, and I'm sure every podcast on the planet has addressed this because these movies are old. But the whole Martha thing was the dumbest thing I have ever heard. You know,
oh, it's your mom too.
I'm not going to kick your ass because your mom's named Martha. Great screenwriting. Not that I'm a brilliant writer by any means, but that was just dumb.
Yeah.
But Wonder Woman, I kind of was like Larry going into it. I'm like,
please don't suck. Please
I was
don't
like,
suck.
please don't suck.
Yeah.
Well, one, like, I can't think of any like straight up female lead superhero movies in recent
that feature
in recent memory. Catwoman with Halle Berry, which I've never seen,
terrible movie,
and I've heard it's awful.
awful.
Elektra, which was okay in like a really horribly cheesy sort of way,
in a so bad it's good sort of way.
Yeah, but other than that, I can't really think of any off the top of my head, which I don't understand because I'm not.
Maybe look at sci-fi like Alien, Sigourney Weaver, shit like that.
But not. I'm not talking like. I'm talking like general superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's like the ultimate badass. Which I just watched Alien and Aliens last week again, and those still kick ass, and they're like 40 years old now.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as like superhero movies go, you know, you don't have a lot of like strong female lead characters that aren't eye candy. Like, I can't remember the girl's name from Suicide Squad that played Harley Quinn.
I can't remember her name either because she was dressed up too slutty to remember her name. I can't think of her name.
She's absolutely gorgeous, and she did a great job. I thought she actually did a really good job playing the character. No. Unfortunately, they focused on her ass. Not that I minded looking at her ass the whole time either, but that's what.
How did you feel about Jared Leto as the Joker, though?
He was awful.
Yes, okay,
awful.
Thank you.
Awful.
Did you see the meme that has, like, all actors are born to play certain roles, and it has not you in the middle over him as the Joker?
I mean,
it's funny.
Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. Yeah, sorry, Jared, you're neither.
Yeah.
Stick to 30 Seconds to Mars and you're good, but...
He's actually filming a documentary about weed right now. I'm not supposed to know that. No one's supposed to know that, but you know that now.
Everybody knows
Everybody knows now.
Yeah. But yeah, but that's the thing, like, you know, Margaret Robbie, that's her name, Margaret Robbie.
Okay.
Like, so I thought she did a great job, and she kind of was, she was like a co-lead in that. I mean, that was Will Smith's thing, kind of more, I think, than hers.
Yeah.
But yeah, they underutilized her. I mean,
I agree.
She's a very good actress.
Yep.
But that movie was a that movie was almost like, I found it to be so awful and bad that I enjoyed the hell out of it because anybody that knows me knows I like bad movies.
I like bad cheesy.
I like bad.
I love bad
cheesy sci-fi fare like Sharknado.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Sharknado. It was so great. It was like, so awful and great.
And Mystery Science Theater 3000 is like my favorite show ever. So I was very psyched that came back.
I know. I like did cartwheels when I found out.
I've watched it. I've gone through season 11 twice already. So, but yeah, so I like those cheesy bad movies, and so I kind of enjoyed it in that cheesy bad sort of way. But it's like
not supposed to be cheesy bad.
This wasn't supposed to be cheesy bad.
Yeah.
I get it. It's just yeah. So this is also DC. Batman versus Superman is a DC film. So going into Wonder Woman, I'm like,
please don't suck.
Please don't suck. I was like, you have like probably the biggest female superhero out there.
Oh yeah.
please don't ruin this movie.
Screw this up
Don't
for the
screw
rest
this
of
up.
womankind and herodom and
Yeah,
everything
because
else.
it's like, honestly, if this had been another Catwoman, it would be another 10 years before I think you would see a female-led type superhero.
I already had that big debacle over Scarlett Johansson getting, like, so much less money in the Avengers movie than all the rest of the actors, and...
Which, really, out of all the comic movies up to date, she's probably been the biggest main character.
She's one of my favorites.
I mean, she's like she's a co-lead in the Avengers,
yep.
so it's. But yeah, so it's cool for them. I think it's really cool that you're starting to see more female centric films,
and ones that don't suck.
Well, right. And the comic, not just the comic genre, but superhero genre, comic genre, but also in one of my buddies in Potato League podcast were talking about this the other day. I'm pretty sure it was them, or I forget sometimes. But they were talking about like how horror is one of the few genres where strong female characters are kind of the norm.
Right.
You don't see that in a lot of other films, which I'm surprised that you don't see. I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised, and I'm probably being an evil male chauvinist by saying it, but I don't see a lot of women that are into horror hardcore like a lot of guys are.
You haven't met the women I know, TJ.
Oh no, I know plenty, but I'm in the seedy dark corners of horrordom.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I mean I've got the Canababes that are joining for this next shoot for the Woodland Killings are all so friggin' excited. Apparently there may be some naked ritualistic stuff in the movie too, and they're all very excited to do that as well. So you want to know dark and twisted? I know some dark and twisted girls.
And I'll be getting phone numbers later. No.
And now we either made half the audience want to watch the movie more or not want to watch the movie at all.
It could create controversy either way.
I love controversy. That's what we're trying to do. We love a good controversy. You know me.
I'm just the opposite. Like I don't mind dealing with it, but I don't like dealing with it because I have anger issues.
Right?
I
know, me too.
It's not that I don't like controversy. I hate stupidity. Stupidity, I have a hard time dealing with it. Not that I'm friggin' Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye or Stephen Hawking by any means. I'm not the smartest dude on the planet. Mm-hmm. Mama once said, type thing. But I consider myself a fairly intelligent person most of the time.
You are a fairly intelligent person,
Sometimes.
I'd say most of the time.
Yeah, so stupidity sometimes just... So getting back to Wonder Woman... Wonder Woman wasn't stupid. It was very well thought out, well written. It paralleled very much to Captain America.
Yep.
Which I was okay with because Captain America was wonderful.
It was.
But it was, it had parallels, but it wasn't the same thing. But it definitely was cool. But the cool thing is, like, I've noticed you see a lot of, like, little girls and people running around in Wonder Woman stuff now.
I know.
So that's cute. Cool that, like, the young girls have something like this powerful, strong female lead
to look up to.
Which is awesome.
I actually used to watch the show when I was very, very little, like 2 years old.
I don't remember I honestly don't. I remember the really bad Spider-Man TV show that used to be on.
No, it was a really bad Wonder Woman show, but I loved it, and it always came on in the afternoon. I watched it after He-Man and She-Ra.
I have pictures of me in a red ski mask in like a Spider-Man pajamas trying to like web crawl up my stairwell.
Do you see the picture of me dressed as a Vulcan in 4th grade
with
I put up?
With your mom?
With my mom, also dressed as Starfleet. Yeah, I showed that picture to Jonathan Frakes when I met him. Jonathan, who plays in Next Generation.
And you look a lot like your mom.
Yeah, she was only 6'2" to my 5'4", though. She was I'm the bite-sized version.
The bites of the mini.
Yeah.
The mini.
Fun size.
The fun size version, pocket version. But yeah, so I would say Wonder Woman. I give it a like an 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't perfect. It had some issues, but
yeah,
it was fun.
8.5 is fair.
And it was a right I think it's in the right direction of those type of films, and I hope DC
I hope they keep going in that
I hope they get their
now.
heads out of their asses. And
that suit they put on Ben Affleck too was ridiculous. The big mechanical
robot. I didn't like it.
It was so dumb and gaumy and awful.
No.
And I guess he didn't have any peripheral vision when he wore
I
it.
can understand
and he kept,
why.
breaking shit and knocking shit over.
But this is the cool thing. Josh Whedon is now working on the DC stuff. He took over for the Avengers because the director of that had a very tragic thing happen. His teenage daughter killed herself.
Oh, jeez.
So he had to step down from the film, and so there was that. But Josh Whedon, is Josh Whedon, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's just, there's not a lot to say about it.
Right. It's gonna be good. It's got to be good, or else.
So it's kind of cool, but it's weird to see him go from the Marvel to the DC universe.
Yeah. I have to ask my husband what he thinks about that, because he'll probably have an opinion on that.
And I haven't kept up with comics for years. Most of my knowledge comes from the stuff.
Have him on the show sometime. He'll tell you all about comics now.
Yeah.
He has an encyclopedia in his brain.
I never was into the popular comics either.
He'll start talking to me about comic book continuity at 6 o'clock in the morning when I haven't had coffee yet, and he's like, it's not the same from the movie to the comic book, and they messed this up in this universe and that universe and this character and that character. I'm like, shh, coffee.
It's 6 o'clock. I'm not awake yet.
Right, I can't handle this shit yet.
So yeah, there was. I'm trying to think of some other stuff we can chat about. I'm kind of
the old days, MMA.
The old days, yeah.
We could talk about that. We could talk about the Bangor Con. We got a lot of things.
Let's talk about Bangor Toy and Comic Con, which was a couple months ago now. I think month and a half or so ago now. Yeah. So Maine has had a severe lack of anything Comic-Con nerd related, especially northern central Maine has had a very lack. So a few years ago, Chris McMillan started up the Bangor Toy and Comic-Con, and every year it gets a little bigger, and it's a really fun event, and I'm so glad we have one, because I personally can't afford to go to the big ones in Boston or San Diego. It's just not in my finance.
They sell out so fast.
And they sell out fast. That's just not. That's would be one of those once in a lifetime type.
Right.
trips.
If I won the lottery kind of things, I would go.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and Jenny was there for the first time this year. Correct?
I was.
Selling her and our friend Rachel
Levitt.
I keep wanting to call her Curtis. Rachel Levitt. The Divine Fandom, correct?
Yep.
And they had some very cool art. They had a pretty successful con, too.
Oh, yeah, we did really, really well, because we make all original art, and some of it is fandom-based, some of it is just kind of creepy and weird and eclectic, but we don't do any reprints like a lot of other artists do, so we make an original, and we sell the original, so what you get will never be reprinted. Nobody else will ever have a copy of it. Yeah. Came right off of our easel, right into your hands. So that was really appealing for a lot of people, and we did different fandoms like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. My husband made pieces where he took old comic books and repurposed them on furniture, like TV trays and things like that, to make functional art pieces. And we took old vinyl records and we cut out comics, so we made those into art too.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah,
it's different. It's not something you see, especially up here. That's definitely not something you see very
It was
often.
such a fun experience. We met so many cool people. I got to talk to Kel Mitchell, who was one of my little childhood heroes from all that, because I was so into comedy, sketch comedy, when I was a kid. And that was awesome, and I got to meet Jim Cummings, who does voices on 500,000 cartoons that I love. And
Darkwing Duck.
I made him do the Mr. Bumpy voice. Do you remember Mr. Bumpy?
He was also isn't he also Winnie the Pooh?
He was Tigger, I think.
Tigger, I can't remember.
He was a voice on Winnie the Pooh. I'm pretty sure it was Tigger, and he was the guard on Aladdin. He sang the Scar parts on Lion King.
Lion King, yeah.
He's done a bunch of voices, but I made him do Mr. Bumpy. Do you remember the cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon? It was claymation about a little green monster that lived under the bed named Mr. Bumpy.
I'm a little older than her, so it may have been
my name is
after,
Mr. Bumpy. I go bump in the night. And it was my favorite show. And I asked him, I'm like, whatever happened to this show, Jim? And he's like, well, we actually shot a second season, and it's locked up in a Warner Brothers vault somewhere, and we really hit our stride that season, and we don't know why it wasn't ever released. And I'm like, fucking Netflix or YouTube or Hulu or something.
I honestly wonder how often that happens. Like a show gets pulled and there's like
another
there's
season
a whole
hiding somewhere.
The companies are just like, no, my precious.
Right.
Bring this to my vaults.
Right. I mean, that was like the movie Festival Express, which was a movie about the Canadian tour of Woodstock. It was like a Canadian version of Woodstock where all the bands rode a train across Canada and played shows.
And they were very polite.
No.
They were very polite.
They did a lot of acid and no, but the funny thing was that it got held up in litigation for years and years and years because the estate of Jerry Garcia, like they couldn't release the film until like the main international film festival back in like 1999 or 2000 or something like that. I got to see the first screening of it ever, but it was like held from the public for like 20 friggin' years.
Yeah. And you know, like there was a smaller con, it was called Bang Pop, that was kind of the predecessor to Bangor Toy and Comic Con.
Yep.
I got to meet Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I pretty much had the most giant nerd moment of my entire life. Now, some of you don't know, like I was in bands for years, and I've got to hang out with a lot of celebrities. I have a few friends that are celebrities, so I don't really get
starstruck?
I don't get starstruck
I don't
very
either,
often.
not very easily.
My buddy Jonathan was with me, and I'm just like, he's like, dude, you gonna go out and talk to? I'm just like, I was like, this is like two of my favorite people from Mystery Science. They're right there.
It's like me when I met Maynard. Do you want to know what I said to Maynard James Keenan when I met him? You're gonna love this.
I like bread.
Basically, I said, I noticed you wear shoes. I wear shoes too. We have so much in common. That is exactly what I said when I met him because I could not think of anything else to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I said to him. I just was like, yeah, I was like, probably like looking like, you know, a teenage girl that just met like Justin Bieber. I was like, yeah, I really like your show. You guys are really awesome. I felt like such an idiot, but it was great. They were actually very, very nice. They talked. Took a bunch of pictures.
Yep. Isn't there another convention coming up in the fall too?
Yeah, my buddy Will and a few other people that help out with the Bangor Toy and Comic Con doing like a halfway con. It's called it's like Pine State Pine State Comic Con. It's going to be in Bangor for those main people that are listening to this.
When's that going on? September, right?
October 21st and 22nd, which is a Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
It's going to be a little more low-key. It's not going to be, you know, they've got the two twin brothers that played Michonne's pets in The Walking Dead are going to be there.
Nice.
I'm not sure if they are having any other guests. I do know those two for sure.
Yep.
But there's going to be a lot of cool vendors. There's going to be like a cosplay ball and stuff, I think. And just a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, that's October 21st, 22nd. So I'm probably going to have Will on at some point to talk nerd things. Because Will is awesome. And he's another person I've met years ago through music.
And what about, isn't there a Bangor Fest at some point?
No.
Or is that done?
I think that's done. I think that's kind of what the Pine State Comic Con is going to kind of... Because they tried, Chris put an awesome... The same guy that did the Bangor Toy and Comic Con put on Bangor Fest, and it was pretty much a straight-up horror festival, and I was in total nerd heaven because I had my probably second total nerd moment because I got to meet Tony Todd. For those of you who don't know who Tony Todd is, shame. He's
shaming you with his finger right now, too.
Yes, because this isn't a visual podcast, and I'm pointing at the microphone, yelling shame like the nuns from Game of Thrones. But the Tony Todd is Candyman. He was in the Final Destination movies. He was in Platoon.
Yep.
But to me, he will always be Ben in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, which... Some people love that. Some people like the original's the best, man, because change sucks and I don't like change. But yeah, you go to hell.
I like the remake.
The remake of Night of the Living Dead was like, I was 6th grade and I was 6th grade going into 7th. And I discovered the Misfits, Stephen King, and horror movies in the same year.
Well, how old were you?
Like 11 or 12.
That's around the same time I discovered it all too, yeah.
And I discovered it all at the same time.
Same. Oh my god,
So
that's
it was
funny.
like the perfect storm to turn me into an ultimate horror nerd. But so like one of the first horror movies I ever watched, and I watched it by myself. Like I grew up in the middle of the woods. I did have like one neighbor that you could kind of see through the trees, but my house, the house I grew up in my teenage years was a old farm, so we had kind of a big field. And
Right.
so for those of you who have like the two people on the planet that have never seen Night of the Living Dead, I'm going to tell you what happens. They're on a farm and there's zombies coming after them. It's the original like modern day what you would think of a zombie horror movie.
Right.
So I watched the remake by myself while my parents were doing something and I was home alone.
Were you terrified?
Well, it scared the shit out of me, but it wasn't like I wasn't like terrified. It like scared the shit out of me, but it was cool. But then
Right.
I had to go outside and get firewood ready to bring inside because we live in Maine and that's what a lot of us did, especially growing up. I helped my dad bring in firewood.
Yeah.
So we would stack it in the field and then you would bring it in. So I was bringing firewood in, and like the whole time I'm out there, like every time I heard a branch snap, I'm like freaking out because it was like it was dusk, it was just starting to get dark. And I was like, for some stupid reason, my like 12-year-old brain is going, this is awesome, I love this. This is the greatest thing ever. It didn't turn me into a serial killer or anything. It just made me like really bad horror movies and write really bad horror novels.
They're not bad. They're good.
No, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, people seem to like them for the most part, so whatever. I enjoy writing them. I have started a new project, though, and I don't know if I want to talk about it yet or not. Because I really don't want to make this all about me and my stuff, but what the hell, it's the first episode. So
Right.
I'm doing a very non-horror centric project right now. It's every day I take like half an hour and write down whatever's in my brain at that moment.
Free association writing.
And anybody who knows me knows that's going to be like the most random ADD thought rattled stuff on the planet because that's just how my brain works.
Right.
But I'm trying to, I'm just seeing where it goes, and I'm writing it down, and it kind of trying to be a little funny, I guess, with it and serious, and so every day I'm going to do that, and I'm planning on doing this for like 6 months.
Nice.
So right around Christmas time, I'm going to stop writing it, and then I'm going to kind of go through and I'm going to edit it, but I'm not going to take anything out or replace anything. It's just going to be for like grammar's sake,
Yeah.
grammatical issues, things like that. And then I'm going to put it out.
Nice.
And it's just going to be really weird and random. There's once in a while I do occasionally write poetry because I don't write song lyrics so much anymore.
Yep.
And sometimes I just have something weird I need to get out or something I want to say and I put it in that format. So like I'm kind of throwing once in a while, like I'm going to throw some of that stuff
a lyric in there.
Yeah, there'll be like a set of lyrics or a poem or just whatever. But so far, I've written about 6 or 7 entries, and
Nice.
I sent it to a couple people just to check out, just to be like,
What do you think of this? Yeah.
would this be something anybody would be even remotely interested in reading, or is this just like self-masturbation type thing? and so far, the feedback on it was everybody like, this is really good. It flows well. It's rambling, but it's interesting, and it's just like... So I'm going to throw that out there. I'm also working on 2 new novels, and part of the reason I started this project was because I'm in a bit of a writing slump.
Yep.
I'm having every writer goes through it, where you have that brain cramp where it's like I know what I want to do, I just can't
get there.
I can't physically sit down and write right now because everything I'm writing is crap, But I don't want to not write at the same time, so this is my...
Gotta keep it flowing.
Yeah, so this is my way of keeping my brain exercised on writing.
Right.
Getting something accomplished.
Right.
While I'm waiting for that little thing in my head to go...
Ding!
All right, cool, you can go back to working on your novels again.
Right? Let it flow.
Yeah, let it
That's
flow.
That's like me with poetry, too. I had a really big... block from time to time, and I have to kind of just do other creative things until I'm ready again.
Yeah. That used to happen to me all the time with music.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, I would write, like, I would go through spurts of writing lyrics, so I would write, like, 15 sets of lyrics in a 2-week span.
Yep.
So when I was going through creative writer's block and I couldn't figure out anything to put to a song, I have like stacks and stacks of lyric books that I can always go back to and find something to go with a song.
Yeah.
Writing fiction doesn't quite work like that. So
Right.
so this was my way of like, because I've had it happen before, and it's been like 3 months before I was really back to where I needed to be to write again.
Yep.
And I don't want to go through the struggle of trying to get back into that flow without, again, because when you take that much time off, it takes a little while for your brain to kick back in, unless,
Right.
So that's one of those things that, like, so this is my way of working through that process and getting stuff done, like I said, but not, having it be entirely wasteful, I guess. And I even thought about putting it up in sections, like once a week, releasing a blog
Yep.
of all of them. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I may end up doing that eventually. I may end up just putting them up as like a weekly blog post of all the entries
Yep.
and then put it out as a book.
Yep. If people want to have
If
it.
people
want to
have it, yeah, as a cohesive piece. So I might start doing that. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. That's the beauty of self-publishing. You don't have deadlines and timelines. You can figure things out on your own and put it out the way you want it.
It's a lot easier than a lot of people think it is too. When I tell people that I'm self-published, they're like, "Oh my God, how did you do that?" I'm like, "I clicked a couple buttons." I mean, basically, you just have to have a word processing software, and you have to be able to write a table of contents for the e-readers or whatever. But
yeah, which you really don't even have to do that.
you don't necessarily. It's just a nice added
No,
luxury.
most of mine I don't even put an index in, because here's a little secret for anybody with a Kindle. When you stop reading a page, and I'm doing the hand motion thing again, but when you stop reading a page, when you turn your Kindle back on, guess what? You're on the page you left off on. There's really not a need for an
index. Yeah.
index. I could see where it might be useful in a poetry book,
right?
Because somebody might find specific poems, or even like a short story collection,
right?
Where just because you might. But for straight up novels, I really don't think it's that necessary.
Right,
It's one of those things. But so anyway, we are getting close to the end of our time. We're almost up on an hour. I'd really like to thank Jenni for coming here and being my first guest and making me a kick-ass salad for dinner, because, Tommy doesn't need wingy. And so yeah, and she made me a salad, which is awesome. And I got to hang out, because we don't really get to hang out very often in person.
But
It's been
we
quite a
go
while.
way back, though. So
We live in Maine. This is the problem. We live like hour and a half apart, so it makes it kind of difficult to get together. So it's fun when we get the chances to like hang out and shoot the shit and reminisce a little bit. And so I appreciate her coming on the show and talking, telling us about all the different things she's got going on right now, and being my first guest and putting up with all my glitches.
Oh, you're fine.
Getting through this. Hopefully this will go a little smoother, now that things are up and going and I'm figuring stuff out. I still have to figure out how to put my intro into this, but but I'll get it figured out anyway. And so in closing, is there anything you would like to say,
Yeah, let me
Jenni?
just plug my pages again, if you don't mind. So I've got one page, which is www.maincannababes.com. You can also find us on Instagram, and we will be launching a YouTube channel as well. The movie I'm involved with is called The Woodland Killings 777. The book of poetry that I've published is called Melodies in Minor Keys, and you can find that right on Amazon. And anything else, find me on Facebook, Jenni Plum, Jenni, and Plum just like the fruit.
And once again, thank you, Jenni, for coming in. And I just want to say you guys can find Average Joe's Drive-In on YouTube. For the time being, I'm going to see how things go and see how much of a regular thing this turns into. If it goes well and it keeps going, then eventually I will be on a regular podcast hosting site, so you'll be able to find me on like Podbean or any of the other search engines, that sort of thing. But for right now, I'm taking the safe route before I start dropping money into into that sort of thing. And once again, if you like the show, check us out on Facebook. Just search for Average Joe's Drive-In. Like the page. I will be posting all the information about new episodes on there. And
invite your friends.
And invite your friends. I've been pretty happy in like 2 days. We've already got 100 likes.
I invited
pretty close.
as many friends as Facebook would allow me to invite
and
yesterday.
I looked and I noticed that like half of them are people I don't know. I'm like, yay! So
Yeah.
it's not just people I know that are liking me out of sympathy.
Right.
So anyway, thank you all for tuning in for the first episode of Average Joe's Drive-In. I am your host, TJ Washburn, and I will see you sexy animals next week. Bye-bye.